In the heart of a desolate town, overshadowed by perpetual fog and haunted by the whispers of the past, stood the decaying remnants of St. Agnes Hospital. Once a beacon of hope and healing, it now loomed over the landscape like a forgotten relic, its crumbling facade a testament to the horrors that had unfolded within its walls. Legend whispered of the hospital's dark history, of patients subjected to cruel experiments and tortured souls left to wander its corridors for eternity. But despite the warnings and the eerie tales, a group of daring teenagers decided to venture into the abandoned hospital one fateful night. As they pushed open the rusted gates, a chill wind greeted them, carrying with it the scent of decay and despair. The building rose before them like a specter from the past, its windows shattered and its once white walls stained with age and neglect. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the only sound was the echo of their footsteps against the cracked linoleum floors. They explored room after room, each one filled with broken furniture and forgotten medical equipment, a silent testament to the lives that had once passed through its doors. But as they delved deeper into the hospital's labyrinthine corridors, they began to feel a presence watching them, unseen eyes following their every move. Shadows danced in the corners of their vision, and strange whispers echoed through the halls, chilling them to the bone. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the silence, echoing through the empty corridors like a cry for help from beyond the grave. Heart-pounding, they raced towards the source of the sound, their footsteps echoing against the walls as they reached the long-forgotten ward at the heart of the hospital. There, in the flickering light of a single bare bulb, they found her, a ghostly figure shrouded in white, her eyes hollow and empty, her voice a haunting melody of despair. She reached out to them with spectral hands, her touch sending shivers down their spines as she whispered tales of suffering and torment. Paralyzed with fear, they watched as she faded into the darkness, leaving behind only the echoes of her pain and the chilling realization that they were not alone in the abandoned hospital. With trembling hands, they fled from the haunted halls, vowing never to return to the place where the echoes of the forgotten ward still whispered of the horrors that had taken place within its walls. But even as they left the crumbling building behind, they knew that the memories of that night would haunt them forever, a reminder of the darkness that lurks within the hearts of men and the spirits that linger in the shadows of the past. In the heart of the forest, shrouded in mist and shadow, lay the ruins of Oak Ridge Asylum, an imposing structure that once housed the most troubled minds. But now, its corridors echoed only with the whispers of the forgotten and the chilling cries of the damned. Years had passed since the asylum had been abandoned, left to decay beneath the weight of time and neglect. But for those who dared to venture into its forsaken halls, the memories of its dark past still lingered, like a stain upon the soul. Among those brave, or perhaps foolish, enough to enter its crumbling walls were a group of thrill-seekers drawn by tales of the asylum's haunted history. Ignoring the warnings of locals and the eerie silence that hung over the forest like a pall, they ventured into the darkness, their flashlights casting feeble beams into the gloom. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of decay and despair, and the only sound was the creaking of the old wooden floors beneath their feet. They moved cautiously, their nerves on edge as they explored room after room, each one filled with the remnants of lives shattered by madness. But as they delved deeper into the asylum's labyrinthine corridors, they began to sense a presence watching them, unseen eyes following their every move. Shadows danced in the corners of their vision, and strange whispers echoed through the halls, sending shivers down their spines. Suddenly, they heard the sound of footsteps echoing through the darkness, slow and deliberate, like the approach of some unseen specter. Panic gripped them as they searched for a place to hide, but there was nowhere to run, nowhere to escape the horrors that lurked within the asylum's walls. And then, emerging from the shadows like a nightmare-given form, they saw her, a figure clad in tattered white robes, her face obscured by shadow, her eyes burning with madness. She reached out to them with skeletal hands, her voice a haunting lamentation that echoed through the halls. In terror, they fled, their screams mingling with the anguished cries of the asylum's tormented souls as they raced towards the exit, desperate to escape the darkness that threatened to consume them. But even as they stumbled out into the cold light of dawn, they knew that the asylum's legacy would haunt them forever, a reminder of the darkness that dwells within us all and the horrors that lurk in the forgotten corners of the world. In the heart of the city, where the bustling streets gave way to silence and decay, loomed the imposing structure of Mercy Hospital. Once a beacon of healing and hope, it now stood as a forsaken monument to the horrors that had unfolded within its walls. The hospital had been abandoned for decades, its once white facade now stained with grime and graffiti, its windows shattered like eyes robbed of sight. But despite the warnings and the tales of hauntings that surrounded it, a group of curious urban explorers decided to brave its depths one moonlit night. As they stepped through the broken doors, a chill wind greeted them, carrying with it the scent of mold and decay. Inside, the air was heavy with silence, broken only by the sound of their footsteps echoing against the linoleum floors. They moved cautiously through the dimly lit corridors, their flashlights casting long shadows that danced upon the walls like specters from the past. Room after room they explored, each one filled with the remnants of lives once lived, a rusted gurney here, a broken syringe there, all bathed in the eerie glow of the moonlight filtering through the boarded-up windows. But as they delved deeper into the hospital's depths, they began to sense a presence watching them, unseen eyes following their every move. Whispers echoed through the halls, their words unintelligible yet filled with menace, sending shivers down their spines. Suddenly, a door creaked open ahead of them, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. With hearts pounding, they descended into the bowels of the hospital, their footsteps echoing against the cold stone walls. At the bottom of the staircase, they found themselves in a vast underground chamber, its walls lined with rows of rusted cages. As they moved deeper into the chamber, they realized with horror that the cages were not empty. They were filled with the twisted remains of the hospital's patients, their bodies contorted in agony, their eyes staring blankly into the darkness. Before they could react, the chamber erupted into chaos, the cages rattling as unseen forces shook the ground beneath their feet. Shadows danced across the walls, their forms shifting and twisting in the flickering light, and the air was filled with the sound of anguished screams. In a panic, they fled from the chamber, their hearts pounding in their chests as they raced towards the safety of the surface. But even as they emerged into the cool night air, they knew that the horrors they had witnessed would haunt them forever, a reminder of the darkness that lurks within the abandoned halls of Mercy Hospital.